Here is part 1 to a complete ranking of all 30 NBA teams. There will be some factors that I consider while ranking, such as making the playoffs, winning, championships, and many more. But each team will have a score ranging from 0 to 100. In this video, we will cover the 10 worst historical teams in league history. Number 30, Minnesota Timberwolves. If I told you the Wolves had been in the league for over 3 whole decades, there's no way I'd believe it. Let's just review what this franchise has done in 34 years. Well, they made the postseason 11 times. That's the lowest rate in NBA history. In 11 postseasons, they have only won 2 playoff series, the worst in league history. Minnesota, well, they're not all that great at winning. They rank 30th all-time in winning percentages. That alone makes them the worst of the worst, and just imagine how much worse the Wolves could have been if they didn't have Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett was a league MVP and is probably a top 20 player all time who poured his heart and soul into a losing franchise for 12 years. So Minnesota's score out of 100 is 0. Number 29, Charlotte Hornets. Fun fact, the Charlotte Hornets once drafted Kobe Bryant, but they stupidly traded him away before he even played. Who knew how much Kobe could have changed the Hornets, but in the meantime, they'll just have to deal with a 7-win season. Also, Michael Jordan owns them for some reason. Score, 2.7. Number 28, Memphis Grizzlies. Believe it or not, the Memphis Grizzlies used to play in Vancouver, but there's a reason you've never heard of them. The Grizzlies couldn't even put up anything close to a winning record. After 1999, when second overall pick Steve Francis refused to play for Vancouver, they decided to move to Memphis. Unfortunately, changing cities doesn't really change a franchise. The Grizz still have no success, no titles, and no fans. The only good thing about Memphis is Ja Morant.
Round series, Morant. Oh! A jawbreaker!
Score, 4. Number 27, Los Angeles Clippers. The LA Clippers have been burdened with some bad luck over the years. And the sad part about their misfortune is that no one actually cares, because 95% of Los Angeles fans support the Lakers. In over 5 whole decades, the Clippers have never made the NBA Finals. And while the recent Clippers are famed by multiple stars, in their first 40 years, the Clips were basically unknown. This was mainly because LA was overshadowed by their big brothers, the Lakers. It also doesn't help that they barely made the playoffs, at one point making just 4 appearances in 34 years. It wasn't until the 2010s when things turned around. Chris Paul and Blake Griffin joined the squad, and with their explosive alley-oops and dunks, they became known as Lob City. However, the furthest they made it was round 2, where they blew a 3-1 series lead to the Rockets. Score, 4.1. Number 26, Sacramento Kings. If this team has solidified anything, it's that Sacramento's the worst run team in the NBA. But let's not lose hope yet. Back in the early days, the Kings won a title, while in Rochester. They've also held several top 75 players, while in Cincinnati. Given their early success, it seemed the Kings would improve when they moved to California's capital, Sacramento. But instead, the Kings have made their name into the worst team in the modern era, capped off with a 17-year playoff drought. They also got rigged out of the finals in 2002. Score, 7.2. Number 25, Washington Wizards. If the Sacramento Kings are the worst team in the modern era, then the Wizards are second. The only thing they really did in the 2000s was take in a washed-up Michael Jordan who thought he could miraculously win a title to improve his GOAT status. But instead, Washington couldn't even make the playoffs. But let's focus on the old days, where they were known as the Bullets. The Bullets moved from Baltimore to DC, where they got swept in 2 finals until they faced the Sonics in the 70s. The late 70s were really the Bullets' heyday, where Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes led them to 2 consecutive finals versus Seattle. Thankfully, they won it all in 7 games in 1978. After that, however, is when the slump of the franchise occurred. Deep droughts, wasted draft picks, and no conference finals appearances. In 98, they had to change their name from the Bullets to the Wizards because of the name's violence. Speaking of Bullets, remember when 2 players pulled guns at each other in 2010? Score, 7.2. Number 24, Orlando Magic. Orlando is considered one of the most magical cities thanks to Disney World, but, well, the NBA Magic seem pretty cursed. They've really done nothing in their franchise besides the 2 finals they reached. Their first was in 1995. With Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, the Magic met the Hakeem Olajuwon Rockets in the finals, and they got swept. Then Shaq left to break some more backboards in LA. But let's fast forward to 2009. In the finals versus the Lakers, the Magic missed a game-winning layup in Game 2 and collapsed in Game 4, both in which they lost in overtime. They soon lost the series. Score 7.3. Number 23, Brooklyn Nets. In their first 25 years, the Nets only won 1 playoff series. New Jersey finally got good in the early 2000s when star point guard Jason Kidd made 2 consecutive finals. However, they ended up losing them both. After relocating in 2013, the Nets have only been known for imploding with the best trio in NBA history thanks in part to Kevin Durant's oversized shoe. Score 7.8. Number 22, New Orleans Pelicans. There might be some controversy here, since the Pelicans have really done nothing impressive so far. But given the fact that New Orleans is the youngest team in the league, and they're pretty solid right now with Zion Williamson, the Pelicans still have many more years to improve. In 21 seasons, New Orleans has made the playoffs 8 times. Most of this success was due to Anthony Davis and Chris Paul playing for them. But remember, they both left because they knew they weren't going to win anything in New Orleans. Score 8.3. Number 21, New York Knicks. The fact that the Knicks are the biggest franchise in the NBA, yet they rank within the bottom half of the teams, is just embarrassing. Let's reveal. Now, back in the early 50s, the Knicks lost 3 straight finals. But then came the golden years, the 1970s. The Knicks would famously face the Lakers in 3 consecutive finals, and led by Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, and Earl the Pearl, they would win 2 of them. Now, most Knicks fans will reminisce over their incredible feats and cheer when they listen to Here Comes Willis on TV. But other than the 70s, the Knicks have won no rings in 50 years. Of course, the Frozen Envelope draft gave New York the superstar Patrick Ewing. During the 90s, Ewing was a beast and led them to 2 finals appearances. But a couple playoff sweeps and missed game-tying layups would keep them at 0 championships. As of today, the Knicks have only won 1 playoff series in 23 years. Score 10.9.
Anthony backs in, turns, puts it up, puts it in with 3 seconds remaining.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to watch part 2 next week.